What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, your software boy, Coach Rich, with two H's, back again with another video here in TriLab. And in today's video, we got Try TC 150, string manipulation. Now, strings is a very important data type, not only just here in the TriLab and in JavaScript, but in most programming languages. And you, as a software engineer, you need to learn how to manipulate those strings. Y'all ready to get in the lab triads? Let's get cooking.
All right, triads. As you can see right now, we're in the lab right now. Triad TC 150 string manipulation is on your screen on the chalkboard. So let's get right into it. So what is string manipulation? String manipulation, and reading right here off the slide, is a critical aspect of programming in JavaScript, enabling developers to transform, analyze, and present data effectively. In JavaScript, string manipulation is the act of taking a string, any string, changing it, and catering it to the needs of a program that is running on. String manipulation is important because it is likely the most used data type. Now, this is just not only here in the Triad Lab, but just in your career. You're likely going to use strings a lot more than any of the other data types just because of how powerful strings are and how strings can be processed. Okay, so for example, and I'm going to throw on the screen here some of the most commonly used built-in JavaScript functions that deal with strings. But let's just go over just a few right here. And I'm just going to write here on the lab here. Just please be patient with me because you know my handwriting is sloppy. All right. Let's use green, Celtic green. Let's use Celtic green today. Okay. So let's say if we have three variables, we'll say let text one equal, we'll say hello. Okay. Like that. And then we'll say let text 2 equal world, like that. And then we'll say let text 3 equal, it's like a lot of space. Just make it seem like there's a lot of space in here. And we'll say JavaScript, and let me erase this quote right here. And we'll just make it so that's just a lot of space in between the J and a lot of space after the T. And then we'll just do one more. We'll do let text 4 equal, we'll say Boston Celtics, because that's my favorite team. Okay, just like that. Okay. Now, given these four variables, and we're going to have to just remember these four variables just while we're on right here on a whiteboarding session, let's just use just some of the not most commonly ones, but some ones that I want you to familiarize yourself with. We're going to use the concat function. So there is a concat function in JavaScript where as though you can put two strings together. Now, there's two ways you can do that. There's one way with the plus sign, which is the more commonly used one, but I also want to show you the built-in function, which is called concat. So if we had something like let result, REU, okay, let result equal text 1 dot concat. Now, concat takes arguments. So this argument here is we're going to concat it with, we're going to concat a space with it, and we're going to do text 2. Now, what do you think what do you think result is going to be? Now, result, I'm going to just put a comma, like comments here. So you say result is going to be hello world, because it takes both of those variables from text 1 that we gave it and text 2 that we gave it and just put them together with a space in between them, which is why there's a space between hello world. Okay, so the next one I want to get you familiar with is called to uppercase. Now, by the word, you should know that it's going to make it uppercase. So if we had let result equal text 2, since that's kind of one of the ones we're going to use, text 2 dot to uppercase. Again, this is just going to return the result of, put a comment in here, result will equal world in all caps. World in all caps, like this. Just like that. Now there's another one where it's two lowercase, which I don't think I need to go over that one because it works the same exact way as two lowercase. It's going to make the words lowercase. There is a lot commonly used one. It's called trim. So if we, let's say the JavaScript right here, text 3, so they had a lot of spaces in here. So if we had something like text, let's do result equal text 3 dot trim. Now, if you do it this way, this is going to result is going to return us JavaScript without the white spaces, which is very powerful in JavaScript because sometimes you might have a lot of white spaces that you might have to deal with, and that can throw off any type of calculations, that can throw off any type of logic error or logic programming. So you want to make sure you have minimal amount of white spaces. Alternatively, if you're just looking for the trim your word from like the beginning or the end, because this trim here does both the beginning and the end, there's a trim start function in JavaScript, which trims just the start of the sentence, and it won't look for nothing else. Then there's another one called trim end, which again just trims the end of the sentence, but it doesn't look for the beginning. My professional experience, I've only used trim, but you never know. Your journey and your career is gonna be a lot different than my journey and my career. So you might use trim start or trim end or trim, So just keep in mind of those things when you're looking to trim white spaces into a sentence. Now, there is one where it's very powerful, which is called split. So let's say if we have Boston Celtics up here. We have Boston Celtics up here. This is text 4. All right. So let's say we have result. Hold on, I spelled that wrong. So if we have result equal text 4 dot split spaces. Now split takes parameters. It's going to look for what's called a delimiter. Whatever you want to split your string on, it will split it. It can be a letter, it could be white spaces, it could be a character. Whatever you decide to choose to split your sentence on or your string on is what it's going to search the whole string on, and it's going to, if it finds your delimiter, it's going to put it in what's called, an array. So result, so let's say we did text 4 dot split by space. Result in the background is going to have, I don't know why I keep wanting to put the T before the L. L before the T. So we have result is going to be, it's going to be an array. The first word is going to be Boston. The second word is going to be Celtics. Now, why is that, coach? Again, that is because we had a delimiter here. I'm going to put this in red. We had this delimiter here of spaces, basically meaning it's going to find the string, and anytime it finds a space, it's going to put the preceding thing before the space or the preceding thing before the delimiter inside an array. So the first element is going to be Boston, and then the second element is going to be Celtics. Now, if you want to just get the first or something element of this, then you'll just say simply result 0. And that's going to equal Boston as a string. Like that. Okay? Now, let's actually hop into the lab now and just do some examples with this, okay? We're going to hop into the lab here. We are going to do some exercises, all right? The first exercise, right here, reading it off the slide, given the following string, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. We're going to create a small program that asks the user to enter a word, and we're going to check to see if that word is in a string. And we're going to use a dialog box to tell the user, yes, it is in a string, no, it's not in a string, so on and so forth. All right. Okay, so hopping in here in the lab here, we see that we have our prime number checker and stuff like that we had before. So we're going to just use a different HTML file for this because we don't want all that in the prime number checker that we had. So let's just call this one, we're going to call it string analyzer. So just because we're analyzing strings, we just kind of want to keep the naming convention. It's sort of similar to how we are going to be using it. And just so, whoever may come behind us, they can understand that this is a string analyzer. So it must analyze some type of strings. So again, when we are doing things with software and code, we don't always need to to write down all of it. So we can just copy the structure of our HTML format and we can put that into our string analyzer format, and then we can just change some things along the way as we go here. First thing is we can change this source to, we're going to call it string analyzer.js. So we'll just leave it like that. We can leave the style sheet as site.css because again, we just only usually one or mainly one CSS file in all of a project. You just add to it. We'll change some of these IDs. So we'll just change this ID here to something like string analyzer body, like that. This heading here, we can change this heading here to main heading. Let's just change that to main heading. Just because that, we can change this word prime checker. We'll change this prime checker to string analyzer, like that. Well, let's put a space in between it though. All right. And again, since we're going to be using a button, let's change this button value right here to something like search string. That way we know what it is, and we'll just say search. We'll name the button something like search string. We'll just call it search for string. How about that one? That might make more sense. Okay, we saved that. We have so now we can just open up our settings, file explorer, goes to the source directory, open up our string analyzer, open with Google Chrome. Okay. And as you can see here, we have our string analyzer. Okay. There it is right there. So let's put this over to the side because we really don't need to see a full screen of that. And let's bring up our VS Code here on the other side. Just kind of shrink this down, kind of get our windows together. This is why you see software engineers usually have more than one computer screen because we need a lot of screens. You need to see a lot of things, a lot of full sizes. And unfortunately, right now, we just got one screen, so we got to make it do what it do. All right, so now that we have our string analyzer button here, let's go to our file explorer and let's create our JavaScript file. So we're going to call it string analyzer.js. All right. And again, we need to do our first thing we need to do since we are just running this in JavaScript. We need to do our window.onload function equal function. And then we are going to open our brackets. And remember, this is just so JavaScript is going to run when this window is loaded. So on load, then run it. Because if not, it's going to try to run this JavaScript before the file is loaded. And it's just going to cause us some errors. We don't want no smoke with that. All right. So now that we have that, let's just do our code. Main thing we're going to do is we're going to make a string at the top level here that has the sentence of what we need it to be, which is going to be here. We're going to say the comma quick, comma brown, comma fox, comma jumps, comma over, comma the, comma lazy, comma dog. Now, ironically, this is a very popular sentence because it's supposed to use every letter in the alphabet. So this is the standard sentence. All right, so we have that now. Now, if we are going, since we need to do a prompt box, we need to do what we've been doing all the time. And please get in front of me. We are going to make a property of on-click property of this string button right here. So when a user clicks it, it opens up a prompt box. Typical things that we've been doing. So let's come here. Let's do document dot get element by ID, and we're going to get the ID of our button, which is search string. Paste that in there. Then we're going to do dot on click equal function, because this is a function. It does a lot of different things. Now, what are we going to do? When they click that button, what are we going to do? You're right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make the functions as if I was coding regular. I'm not going to make it and then put it in another function. So I'm going, since I know I'm going to put this in a function, I'm going to call this function search string, like that. So when a person clicks that button, it's going to call this function search string. So let me make that function search string, like this here. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a prompt. So we're going to do var, and we need to store this in a variable. We need to store the search string of the user in a variable. So this is the reason why I'm assigning the variable. Var search string equal prompt. And we're going to enter the word, something like enter a word to search for, something like that. Okay. And then, since we have that variable now, we are going to do what's called an if statement. Of course, you know what's called an if statement. We're going to do an if statement. If, and this is going to be a new function that we never used before, though. So just stay with me here. So if main string dot includes, okay, if that includes the search string, like that, then we are going to alert the user. So let's just do it like this. Let's just say let search results equal, then we're going to just do like a sentence. We'll say search string concatenated with, this is the other way to concat something, is with the plus sign. This is, like I said, this is what I use the most. So search string concatenated with, we're going to open a quote, is in the sentence. And then we'll do concatenated again with the sentence, which is the main string. Okay. Now we're going to alert search results, I'm sorry. Like that. Else, if it's not, since we gotta catch that logic as well, we're gonna just alert the string you are looking for does not exist in the sentence. Boom, like that. Simple. Now, why is our if statement so vague, Coach? There's no condition here. So all if statements, you know, is either truthy or falsy. This dot includes here returns a true value or a false value. So if the search string that the user gives us is true, that is in the sentence, it's going to say if true, do this stuff in this box here. If false, do this stuff here. That's pretty much what this is saying, even though it says if main string dot includes. All right, so keep that in mind. It's going to return a true or false value. All right, so let's save that. Let's save our HTML file. Let's just refresh. Let's click our box here. Enter a word to search for. Let's search for something like green. Since we used green earlier, let's do green. Hit OK. The string you are looking for does not exist in the sentence. We know that because it's the quick brown fox, not the quick green fox. So let's try this again. Let's search for the word fox. Let's hit OK. Boom, fox is in the sentence. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. All right. That is a very powerful thing when you're looking for a word in a sentence or anything like that. That is the way to do it. All right. So let's move on to another exercise here. Let's move on to exercise 2 here. So given the same string, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Create a small program that displays every third letter or character to the user. This should only run when a button is clicked. Once displayed to the user, show the user the entire sentence in uppercase, then show the user the entire sentence in lowercase. It's a mouthful, but I promise this is really simple. Just pause the video, think about what this is saying to you, and try to write it out. But I'm about to go ahead and talk through it as well. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just copy this here because we're going to need some of these things here. So instead of typing this all over, we're just going to just paste it in. All right. Now we're going to change some of these other things, but the first thing is we need to make sure that we have a specific button for our second search string here. So let's put this right here in a div, just because I want all of them to be in divs. Let's put that in a div, and then let's come down here. Let's put this in it. Let's close that div. All right, so now we got that in the div. Let's make another one. We're gonna call this div here, and then we can pretty much copy the same layout, really, because albeit though I do want this div to be floating right, so I'm gonna do class, we'll call this one class equal right side divs, like that. Okay, so now I want this the one to float right, and in the CSS file, float right side divs, I think I might already have it in here. Okay, I do. So right side div is going to float right, left side div is going to float left. Okay, good. So if I refresh this, we see here that it floats to the right. A little under it, but it still floats to the right. All right. So let's take this here, and we are going to change some things here. So we're going to change this main heading here. We're going to change this to, let's see here. We're going to change this main heading here to run character check. So we're going to say run character check. Okay. We're going to name, let's put this on the same line. Okay, like that. We can change this button here to the ID. We're going to say run char check, and we can just call this button here run check because we wanted to run this check. We wanted to hit it, run check, like that. Okay, so we can save that. We can refresh it so that way we can kind of see the differences here. Okay, so now we can see it here. Okay. Now, what we can do, let's go to our JavaScript file. Now we have our run char check ID button here. Document, so let's put a comment up here to say run char check, like that. So that way we know that it's checking for the character. So we're gonna also change this function name to run check. We're gonna take this here, and feel free to name these functions and methods and variables, whatever you feel like to name them. This is just what's coming to my mind first. We don't need a prompt box no more, so we can take that out. Now this if statement here, we're not really gonna need an if statement here, okay? For this one, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna use a loop, okay? And we're gonna use a loop. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna write this loop. So the first thing we're gonna just say for var I equals 0, I is less than or equal to main string dot length. Now we want to check the length of the main string because we want to see all of the entire string, the third letter in all of the entire string. So that's why we're doing the length of the main string. Okay, and we start at 0 because we want to capture the first letter of the string. All right. So then we do I plus plus. We're gonna do I plus 2. plus 3, I'm sorry. Now, why, coach? Because we said we want to catch the every third letter. So we're going to iterate it by 3 every time so we can land on every third letter. So we're going to skip over letters 1, 2, and 3. All right? So when we do that, we're going to alert to the user. We're going to say main string dot char at I. Now, coach, you never gave us what char at is. Char at means character at which position. So we're saying we're going to use the main string, and every character at the main string, every third character, we're going to alert just that character. Char at only alerts a single character, okay? And the position of it is the argument of which we're going to take, and we're using I because that's the position of it that we want to take. And after that, we said we're going to alert the string to the user in all uppercase and then all lowercase. So then we do main string dot to uppercase, like that. This does not take any parameters. Not all functions do. And then we're going to also do alert main string dot to lowercase, like that. Pretty simple stuff there. That's pretty simple. Save that. We're going to run it, refresh your HTML, hit run check. Okay, T, that's the first letter. It's a comma, looks like. U, I guess this is the U in quick. K in quick. B in brown, W in brown, a space. The X that's in fox. The J that's in jumps. The J in jump. The E that's in, I actually lost where we were at. The E that's in over, okay, so we are in the now. The E that's in the L that's in lazy, the Y that's in lazy, the D that's in dog, and a space after dog. We have the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog in all caps, and we have the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog in lowercase. Pretty simple, pretty simple. Now I do have another exercise for us. It's going to get a little bit more challenging here. Now, given the following string, the same string we've been using, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, create a small program that displays the sentence from the first character to the 20th character, okay? We're going to use the same prototype of using a button to do so we can just copy this entire div here and just put it literally under that div, and we can just save it just so we can kind of see where it is on the actual HTML, which is right underneath the run character check. We're going to call this one here. We're going to call this guy here. We'll just say check sentence. We'll say check sentence. Something like this. All right, we can put this back on the same one here. Okay, and then we can make this a left side div. I already have a class in here for it, so let's just do left side divs. So that's going to move it away just a little bit. Okay, perfect. So now it's like a little zigzag. All right, so we check sentence. Let's change this button to this ID button. Let's just call this one get substring. And as you can probably tell, that just because I call it a substring, that's the function that we're going to use. You guessed it. And we'll just say that what the button title is. We're going to just say something like see new sentence, something like that. Okay, save that. We can refresh it. You can see everything checked out there. Now heading back to our JavaScript, again, I'm going to copy and paste this stuff here because there's no sense on writing it over again because we're going to kind of use the same principles here. And we're going to take this comment. We're going to say get substring of sentence. It's always good to make sure you have comments in your programming so that way the user, whoever's coming behind you, can just easily see what your code is trying to do or what your code is performing instead of having to read it. Always throw some comments in there. No one got mad about comments. So then we're going to go back to here. We're going to get an ID, which is get substring. We're going to put that into our on click function. And this method, we're going to just call this method the same thing. We're going to just call it get substring. Just keep it simple. There's a saying in computer and IT that's called KISS. Keep it super simple. I live by it. I'm gonna put that on the screen here. Keep it super simple. All right. So we don't need this for loop no more. We're gonna just get that out of here. Now we have a brand new function here. All right. We have a brand new function. Now we have our our function here. When we hit our button, we're going to come down here. Now, what do we do? This is really easy. Try it. Please feel free to pause the video and do it, even though I see I got half of it up here already, but you can still pause your video and you can still see if you can work this out yourself. We're going to do alert main string dot substring 019. Now, coach, what does that do? So this right here, as you can tell, it takes the substring of the main string. So you're saying get a substring of the main string, and then it takes arguments. It's saying, what arguments do you want to give us? You going to give us whatever you may want to give us, or we can just kind of determine. So 0 is saying we want to start at the beginning of it. And since we want the 20th character, again, we're one index down. So this is going to be the 19th character. So that's going to give us from 1 to character 20 is going to display to the user. And that's just that simple. So we save it, we refresh it here, we click our sentence, the quick brown, comma. Now again, substring is probably one of the most important ones that you will use, because you have to manipulate strings in a way. You may have to get the middle of a sentence, you may have to get the beginning of it, or whatever situation might be. You will see substring again in your career. Trust me on that one. Okay. Now we do have an exercise 4, but this exercise 4 is going to be a bonus for you. I want you to work this out. I'm going to put this at the end of the video, and I want you to work this out by yourself. Send me the submissions if you have any problems, or send me the submissions anyway so I can see your work, so I can see how you're coding, because again, my job is to help you get that job. And I have to make sure that we are focusing in our brain on making sure that we code appropriately, we have good coding practices, so on and so forth. I'm going to put that on the screen. Please do it. I'm going to show you the results of this on the next video here in TriLab.
All right, triads. And that right there is string manipulation. Now, we didn't go over all of the functions that you could be used for string manipulation. The idea of it is just to understand what it is to manipulate a string and how in different ways that you can manipulate a string. All right, triads. Here in the next video, we're going to do something that I've never seen in any other curriculum. We're going to do Introduction to Debugging, Triad TC 165. Now, debugging is a very, very, very important skill that you need to have as a software engineer. So not only do you need to learn how to develop an application, you need to learn how to debug it as well. All right, triads. Until next time, keep practicing. Feel free to get in the lab and make any type of programs that you need to make, because the only way to stay sharp is to sharpen them skills, triads. All right, triads. Till next time, let's keep it cooking.